watching The Tom Renz Show with your host, Tom Renz.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Excited to be here today. Lots to talk about. Pam Bondi dominating the headlines today is she takes her vacuous self over to Congress and tries to pretend like she has something intelligible to say, which never actually happens. But her trainers, the Susie Wiles Dream Team, did convince her to get a couple sound bites out so that their parent team from social media could just endlessly quote those and pretend like she did a good job. That said, she didn't. In fact, she did a terrible job. And to be real honest, what she said was basically blah, blah, blah. We're not going to reveal any more names, blah, blah, blah. We don't care about child rapists, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's getting prosecuted. And hey, did you see the stock market? That pretty much summarizes the hearing. We'll have a lot more on that. Well, that's happening, and while we see the administration continuing to cover up for child rape, which is beyond me, I just don't understand this. I mean, how does Susie Wiles convince Donald Trump, or is Donald Trump just too blind to see that, the MAGA base, we like kids. We want to protect kids. And this Epstein thing, it ain't going to go away. We don't give a damn about the stock market. We don't give a damn. We want our kids protected, and we want child rapists to go to jail. Not just the nobodies. We want the elites that are running our country who rape children gone. That's draining the swamp. You can't drain the swamp unless you actually go to where the swamp is and start arresting people and throwing them out. Unfortunately, Pam Bondi loves to arrest nobodies, right? She loves to we just broke up a child sex ring in Florida and there were 5 people in it and they had all sorts of images. Okay, great. Did you arrest any of the people who were, the billionaire child sex traffickers that were part of the Epstein child rape cult? No, we don't talk about that. That's what we're getting here. Any hypocrisy? This is a 2-tiered standard of justice. This is literally the swamp. This is precisely what we elected Donald Trump to fix. But instead of fixing it, we have Pam Bondi out there defending it, which is no surprise. Let me ask the big question. Is Pam Bondi's name in the Epstein files? What? What? Nobody's asked that one yet, but let me put this out there. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of the state of Florida for many years while Epstein was running his pedophile rape ring out of Palm Beach. Everybody knew that it was being ran. It was a well-known thing in Florida. But Pam Bondi continued to look the other way. What did she know and what did she cover up then? Is it any surprise that Pam Bondi's not doing anything now in light of the fact that she spent God knows how long covering it up while she was AG in Florida? This is no different than what she did there. It's just a continuation. How does Donald Trump think that this is going to work? How does he think that we're going to be okay with this? How does he think he's going to get around this in midterms? I'm sorry, but the whole, the Democrats are worse thing only goes so far, right? When it comes to child rape, if the GOP wants to hang its head on defending child rapists, I'm sorry, but it doesn't get worse than that. I mean, this is a sex pedophile rape death cult. I mean, we have the emails where Epstein was excited about the torture video, right? I mean, what the hell's the torture video? I mean, this is sick. He's buying sulfuric acid to dissolve bodies. Why? Well, you can guess why. How about the New Mexico ranch where apparently he was holding young girls as baby incubators for his genetic experiments? This is insane. How do you not investigate and put people in jail when you've got a guy who was doing this kind of stuff? I mean, and by the way, Bill Gates, Prince Andrew, all these other guys, I mean, they were clearly, it looks, how do you say they weren't involved? How do you say they weren't involved, really? But no, we're going to invite Bill Gates to the White House. That's what we're going to do. That sounds like a much better idea than putting him in jail because guess what? The base is going to love that in midterms. Who doesn't love that? I want to know if Pam Bondi's name is redacted in the Epstein files. I want someone to ask this question. Was Pam Bondi's name in the Epstein files anywhere? And was her name redacted? I mean, she was AG in Florida for years while this was happening. You'd think there'd at least be some mention of her. Is there? Where is it? Why? I know I've talked to people who were aware of what was going on in Florida. There's even the fact that Donald Trump apparently called police to make a report about Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein back in 2006. I mean, everybody knew what was happening. Now, granted, Epstein had his plea deal in 2008, but that doesn't mean that ongoing crimes are exempted. It doesn't matter that he had a plea deal in 2008 if he continued to do it after that plea deal. A plea deal can't cover future crimes. It doesn't work that way. Pam Bondi could have easily broken this up in Florida and put him in jail. She didn't because, well, why? That's the real question. There's a cesspool of corruption, even in the great state of Florida, which is a wonderful state ran by there's a lot of good people down there. But there is a cesspool of corruption everywhere. And it continued down in Florida. Everybody knew what was going on in the West Palm Beach mansion in Florida, but nobody's talking about it. There's a lot about New Mexico. There's a lot about the island, but nobody's talking about West Palm Beach. I wonder why. I wonder how much about the West Palm Beach operation has been covered up because Pam Bondi was AG then. I wonder how many of the 3 million plus redacted pages or hidden pages or not released pages include information on what was going on in West Palm Beach when Pam Bondi was AG. Let's talk about that, Pam. Let's talk about that. Was your name involved? What were you doing? Why weren't you doing anything? Medical kidnapping is also happening all over this country because no one in Washington gives a damn about kids. This is the thing. MAGA, we love kids. We love them. We want to protect them. We want to take care of them. The kids are the future. Not Washington. The Washington elites apparently view them as sex slaves. It's insane. It's insane. So the medical kidnapping continues. We've got an update of some updates on Ken Lee's story down in Florida. Ken Lee's story is just appalling, by the way. My buddy Clinton's on here from Safe Blood, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. We're also going to talk to him a little bit about some other great things. Clinton's doing good work. Do you know that right now, if you want to donate your own blood so that you can make sure that you get it, unvaxxed blood, in case you need it, that there's a lot of difficulties doing that because there's state laws that block that. Really? Yeah, I'm not joking. So you've done the right thing. You've avoided mRNA poison, bioweapons. You don't want that in your system. You get sick. You need blood. What do? Well, you get the vaccinated blood, which means guess what? You might as well have got the shot. So, Clinton and Safe Blood do things to, they've got solutions to that and ways to help with that. But the state legislation needs to be changed. I mean, you should be able to, choose what you want to do with your blood. But the big pharma crew doesn't want that. The billionaire elites don't want that because they want you sick and dying. And again, nobody in Washington cares, especially the people who are still pushing the mRNA poisons. This is insanity on every level. And thank God for people like Safe Blood and Clinton who are out fighting against this because it is absurd on profound levels. So we're going to get to all that today. Lots to talk about. Before we do, I need your support and I need your help. Listen, obviously nobody on the right or the left is paying me because we just go after truth. If you want to hear about truth, you got to support us. GiveSendGo.com /RenzLaw. GiveSendGo.com /RenzLaw. Donate. I mean, I've been fighting this for 6 years now. Round the clock. It's all I do is fight this stuff. I need your help. I can't do it without funding. I do as much of this out of my pocket as I can, but if we don't have your support, we can't keep doing this. So whatever you can donate to keep us going, GiveSendGo.com /RenzLaw. We're very grateful for it. Please become a monthly donor if you can. One-time donor is fine. We need some big donations right now. It's tight. It's ugly, and we do need your help. The more I've got, the more I'll do. Whatever budget I got, the only thing I want to do in this world is fight for a future for our kids, an honest future for our kids. I don't give a damn about D or R. I give a damn about truth, and I give a damn about justice. Support me, GiveSendGo.com /RenzLaw, and we'll keep fighting. We'll keep fighting anyways, but the more I've got, the more I can do. Also, please support us at TomRenz.com, www.TomRenz.com. Go to shop, check our partners and affiliates, and as always, right here it is. And I've got a whole bunch of these, by the way, a whole bunch of these bottles, but men's hormone support from Global Healing. Men's hormone support from Global Healing. You know what? There was a study. They did a study, and it's been kind of covered up, but they did a study, and they found out that as men's testosterone levels go up, they become less liberal and more conservative. Shocker, right? They've been pushing this testosterone stuff to make us essentially the equivalent of liberal white women. The Karens out there for a lot of years. You got to keep your testosterone levels up or you become a liberal white woman wussy. We got a lot of those. That's the whole, remember the whole men for Harris thing that they tried to push? There were no men. They were all a bunch of wussies. They were a bunch of sissy little girls, but, they tried it. You get your testosterone levels up. Men's hormone support will do that. It'll help you, and it'll do so without. It's all natural. It's all natural. So no downsides to it. Just kind of improve your overall health. And also today, I want to talk about one of our new sponsors, Paleo Valley. I love Paleo Valley. You guys need to check these guys out, right? So if you click on our link, you get 15% off the entire store, and that's a big deal, right? So 15% off the entire store. If you shop with Paleo Valley, and I'll show you, let me show you this here. You click on our link and it takes you right here. And you can see right up at the top, 15% off the entire store. So Paleo Valley is awesome. They've got awesome beef sticks. They actually have venison sticks too. Their venison sticks are super yummy. Pork sticks, all sorts of, and it's all natural, grass-fed, like healthy stuff, right? You can get whatever you need. But one of the things I want to tell you about Paleo Valley, they have a lot of supplements, right? So you got bone broth protein. So if you do like the protein shakes, they have just incredible paleo-based supplements, right? Things that have a lot of the superfoods, the vitamins, the minerals, all that sort of stuff. Great supplement line, lots of different things. They have protein bars, superfood bars, all sorts of things. Check out their golden milk, and some of their supplements are great. They have a kind of a different type of supplements. They're paleo-based supplements, right? So the whole thing is kind of paleo-based. I love their apple cider vinegar supplement. I also like their NeuroEffect supplement. Those are my two favorites. I highly recommend them. Got great organic coffee. Wherever you go, just all their products are good. Extra virgin olive oil. If you're looking to cook with things that aren't going to make you sick or dead, beef tallow. Kind of a cool organic spice bundle. They're just great stuff. Great stuff. It's kind of a unique line of products. It's stuff that you can't get anywhere else. And I would urge you to check it out. They're just a great group. Paleo Valley. Use our link on tomrenz.com or in the show notes and get 15% off the entire store. You got to use our link to get the discount, though. So anyways, that's that. I want to, without further ado, bring on my friend Clinton Oler. Clinton is the Safe Blood guy. And, not only does Safe Blood, by the way, check out Safe Blood and check out their Substack. If you subscribe to their Substack, if you get involved, you get to get set in the whole Safe Blood world. You can get involved and you can actually get Safe Blood if you ever need it. I'll let Clinton explain that. But how are you doing today, Clinton?
Oh, I'm doing great, Tom. It's wonderful to be standing on the cusp of some victories here, or just in the rearview mirror of achieving them. I'd love to talk about that today. I do want to encourage everyone listening the importance of supporting Tom with Give, Send, Go, of purchasing the products, because if there is one thing I had my eyes open to this past weekend and on Monday when we were down in the Pensacola area to help the filmmaker John Davidson and I were down there as part of a vigil and a protest outside the courthouse for that young girl, Ken Lee, the cystic fibrosis patient who had been just abusively torn away from her mother and family by CPS on false allegations. What shocked me about that, Tom, is not just the horrificness of this case, but I really started meeting other people in the crowd after I'd delivered my comments, and it amazed me, other parents who had turned out, who were in just this same situation. False charges are brought against you, okay? That, for example, in Kenley's case, that she was refusing treatment for her daughter when he was simply trying, flat out lie. How can you be refusing treatment if you're already treating the child and you're now trying to determine whether a new drug that's been introduced to you with a black box warning that has an ingredient she already had a reaction to in another drug is actually the best course action? Doesn't matter. And these parents said these things to me over and over and over again. And they expressed the frustration of you put the basic evidence in your submission to the court. The judge doesn't even look at it. He just rubber stamps, or she rubber stamps, what CPS is doing. Then you're looking at being in your 20s and you spent tens of thousands of dollars. I talked to a gal who's 29 and she has $60,000 she spent just related to getting her children back and keeping them. That could have gone towards their college educations. So it's an enormous travesty that's going on in our country under our noses. I was on the Dr. Margaret Miranda show with her and Laura Bartlett, and they're very big proponents of I do not consent form.com, so that like one of the people that I met at the rally who turned out was the mother of Dr. Ben Marble, who's been so outspoken about the shots and everything. Well, while she was in surgery, Yeah, she was in surgery. That long after her son's been, a proponent for not taking the jab and medical freedom, she told them, I don't want the shot, right? I don't want the mRNA vaccine. They gave it to her anyhow because
Yep.
she didn't have an airtight, I do not consent form kind of thing. And, I was talking with them earlier today before coming on with you, and I said, what I really would like to see is, can parents have an I am not failing to treat my child form, right? Because these are the allegations that are brought, and it seems like there's no defense. If someone accuses you, a doctor accuses you, like there seems like there's no defense. And I would think if I had a child with cystic fibrosis and I had a form that said, I am not denying service, or I'm not denying treatment, and I am not denying treatment form for parents, I am simply evaluating, the doctor signs this. I wonder if that would be something that would legally help them. What do you think, Tom?
Well, it may be. The problem is from a legal perspective, Clinton, that what's happened is they've weaponized medical neglect as a concept, right? So medical neglect is a real thing, and it came out of the case law related to child abuse. So what would happen is child abusers, obviously they don't want to take their kid to the hospital, because the hospital can see, hey, just beat the hell out of this kid. It's obviously a sign of abuse. So we kind of push this medical neglect thing where, if you're abusing your kid and don't take him to the hospital, well, you get in trouble. And that's a good thing, right? The problem is that pharma is mind-blowingly corrupt, and the medical system is mind-blowingly corrupt. So now you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, hey, if you're medically negligent for not taking your kid to the hospital for abuse, maybe you're medically negligent if there's a good treatment and you're not doing it. The problem is what a good treatment has been weaponized and lied about. There's no truth in science. There's no regulatory oversight. The HHS is corrupt as hell. Even with Bobby there, it's improved tremendously. But the amount of corruption and the amount of power that Big Pharma has is mind-blowing. So, they brainwash these doctors. They tell them to do this, do this, do this. Doctors are either too lazy or too sold out to actually do anything about it. Hospital systems push the doctors to look at things this way. And at the end of the day, what they do is they've got this really neat or interesting scheme that they have with CPS. And by neat, I mean creative. It's not good. It's horrific. But CPS gets more money for every child that's in custody. So CPS will try and take custody of your kid. The doctor gets more money for these dangerous, unproven treatments. So the doctor says, hey, I want you to take this $1 million treatment. Nope, I don't want to do that. It's not safe. Well, you're medically negligent. So they go get an ex parte TRO hearing with a judge. You've got 24 to 72 hours, depending on the state, to respond. There's almost no lawyers on the planet that know how to properly argue medical necessity. And even if you do, it's very hard, because you can't bring in your own experts in 24 to 72 hours. So after the initial TRO, there's a follow-up hearing. The judge just hangs his hat on whatever the doctors or scientists say. Those doctors and scientists are already secured by the state. Meanwhile, the parents have no notice. They don't even know this hearing's happening. And so you're screwed, and you're going to spend $50,000 to $100,000 minimum to try and get your kid back. And there's a very high likelihood it isn't going to work, because the courts are too stupid to bother to listen to anyone other than the doctors. The doctors are too corrupt to tell you the truth. Science is corrupted and backs the corrupt doctors, and CPS is corrupt and pushing this whole narrative. So there's no winning for the parents. There is a true pandemic occurring right now. It's the pandemic of child kidnapping by CPS.
Yeah. Well, now, imagine you're in the place of this wonderful young couple I met, the Garcias, who had their 2 infants taken away on the accusation of abuse. And really what was going on was a rare genetic disorder that affected vitamin D levels and something else, I believe, iron, that caused small fractures those were then noticed. They're accused of abuse. The children are taken away. But then I said, well, is anyone doing anything for their actual illness? Well, no. Of course, they're not treating the actual problem in custody or at the foster home, because the whole premise of taking them away was based on abuse and not. And I've seen this. I was first introduced to this several years ago. We knew another couple. We couldn't believe it. They lost their children for 2 years, and it wasn't abuse. It was a unusual medical condition that simply resulted in the bruising of from internal bleeding in the leg of one of their children. One doctor, not even all of them who had looked at the child, but just one, called CPS. And so it's, I mean, people really need to take this to heart. This is an absolute, like you said, it's another epidemic. And the pain and suffering that it causes these families is worse than anything you can imagine. And I just can't imagine even what it's like for the siblings to have a sibling torn away from your home, and then to be given to another home where the treatment that they need are not getting, because convicting you of guilt requires not recognizing that child's need. It is abuse after abuse. Now, the good news was, thanks to John Davidson, so much attention was brought through him appearing on your show and other shows. That was the top story with OANN this weekend, and we had a nice turnout at the vigil for Ken Lee, a Republican, a wonderful candidate for governor in Florida by the name of Rachel Rodriguez. She showed up. James Thorpe,
Rachel's great. James is great.
He led us all. He led it off, rousing the crowd and with a really beautiful prayer. And then, a number of people spoke, including myself, and then a young congressman running for election closed it up. And I'm sorry, his name just slipped my mind. The young Republicans leader was there. It was a good turnout. But guess what? Here was the real surprise, that Matt Gaetz, who also works at OANN, his father is a state senator in Florida, and he showed up with his legal team. They've decided to take up Joy Zafar's case to help.
Praise God.
Yeah, to help. So they got a continuance. So if I'm not being a legal person myself, I would have thought that was bad news. She didn't get her kid right away, but everybody said, no, this is fantastic news.
That's great.
Yeah, okay, good. The team got a continuance so that the new lawyers can get up to speed on what's going on. And she did not lose her parental rights, because remember, this was to take away her parental rights permanently. She's already been without her daughter for 2 years. So we were really encouraged by that and by all the wonderful people I met. To see the people fighting for freedom and who care about the truth coming out. And we've really come to realize, it feels like that's the thing that needs to happen. And if that's an encouragement to any of your listeners, it's the turnout by good people who care about the truth, who aren't getting gaslit by big pharma and complicit doctors and complicit courts like you described. That brings eyes to bear. I mean, we looked up and saw all the people looking at the courthouse at us. It was raising a lot of attention. And for State Senator Gaetz to show up was an especially big deal, because he had to be, from what I understand, briefly away from session to do that, or delay his return to session, one of the two things, which is very unusual for a senator to do. So that this case is close to his heart.
Well, it is. And Matt Gaetz is an interesting guy. Of course, they railroaded him on the AG thing, which was absurd, so that they could put crooked Pam Bondi in, who looked the other way from the Epstein stuff while she was AG in Florida. They installed this crooked piece of crap as AG. You don't have to take that position, Clinton. I'll take it for you. But this is appalling, right? I mean, and this speaks to what Matt Gaetz is doing. He's out here going after things, and I appreciate that. We had another case that I've been involved with and trying to help some people bring attention to out of Oklahoma. They took custody of a child from this mother and gave it to a sex predator who ended up killing himself. He had a long history of alleged sex abuse, and he and his husband were lots of allegations around them, right? Yeah. And CPS gives this kid to these potential perverts, And I mean, then Carnival Cruise Lines. They take this kid on this Carnival Cruise Line thing. This guy literally tries to drown the kid in a hot tub while he's in there with a bunch of other little kids, flirting with them and being inappropriate. And this whole thing comes to light. Everybody finds out about it. This guy kills himself, and but yet this is where CPS puts the kid. They don't care about the kids, and this is kind of a fundamental problem we're facing right now. Is that the elites running our country? This is why Epstein matters so much. The elites running our country don't view children as sacred. They don't view them as precious. They view them as sex toys and other things for their. It's sick. It's sick. So I'm glad to hear the continuance is a huge deal. As a lawyer, I'll tell you, they were going to take her rights. They were going to take this child, and it's only the political pressure and the visibility that's been provided that prevented that, in my opinion. Because I watch this all over the country, I'm finding more and more about this, and it's appalling. So thank God that Matt Gaetz and his family got involved. Thank God that you're doing what you're doing. Thank you for James Thorpe, who is a good guy. I got to catch up with James. I haven't talked to him for a minute. I saw him the other day on an interview briefly with Brandon House, and all the other people that have been involved. Praise God for everybody. And you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to Key West Jess. Jess has been an absolute warrior on this. She's doing great work. By the way, if you need any real estate out of the Keys, talk to Jess. She is not a sponsor, just a good person who I know that sells real estate down there. She's a great person. You can find her on Twitter, Key West Jess. But lots of good people coming together to fight this, Clinton, including you and Safe Blood. You guys have been warriors for kids and warriors for health, and I'm grateful for that. I hear you guys are having some real success also on another issue that's near and dear to my heart. I believe Utah and some other states are looking at legislation to ensure that people can actually get access to unpoisoned, deadly mRNA, safe blood, right? Safe blood that's not poisoned by the mRNA shots or other such things. We got some legislation making that a little easier. Of course, when I'm going to brag, I do work with Safe Blood, but Safe Blood is not a sponsor. So Safe Blood is providing access to safe blood for people. So make sure you're supporting them if you could. But you guys are seeing some success on some legislation do that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bill that's been introduced in Utah. I was just testified this morning for Idaho, for the state legislature there, and I'm glad to say that bill passed, is now going forward to the Senate in Idaho. And this is so important because I tell you, if we get one bill through in any state, then that could be the beginning of the breaking of the dike, right? We've got 17 other states that have bills coming forward. And what are these bills for? It's to protect the rights of the citizens for something that was completely uncontroversial and considered a normal option if one wanted it prior to the rollout of these vaccines. And that's, of course, your ability to choose your own donor to give you blood rather than having to take it off of just the general shelf, what's called stored blood. And, and what does this mean for people of Idaho if this passes? Well, if you were the gentleman who had to travel 4 hours to Salt Lake City to get your surgery because no hospital in Idaho is going to give you blood that you felt was safe, now you don't have to do that, right? If you're like this family in Washington who had to take their little girl to Pennsylvania because a children's hospital in Washington, along with all the others, would not even allow parents to donate to a child, that's usually never denied. Well, they had to go to Pennsylvania. I recently, and I testified about this. I recently spoke with a woman in Minnesota. Minnesota used to allow directed donations. And by the way, these aren't state laws. But what's going on is the FDA has this false statement up from the Biden era that Mary Talley Bowden has been calling out, and that it misuses a scientific study to try to say directed donations are more risky when actually the study shows that they're less risky. I mean, it's like we've been talking about this lying. It's absolutely atrocious, but it even comes from our top health bureaucracies that they, so we're hopeful that Dr. McCary can be reached and take this down. But in the meantime, it has given justification to hospitals and blood banks in different parts of the country to simply deny what was an uncontested right. And what does that mean for this woman in Minnesota, where she had been receiving the blood that she felt was safe from directed donors? They cut her off there. She had to go to Florida to get transfusions. And when I last spoke with her, she's back in Minnesota awaiting a bone marrow transplant. I said, well, how are you doing? She said, well, my blood levels are still holding steady, but I'm worried they're going to drop more. And if they do, I'm going to need a blood transfusion, but I'm too ill to travel. Right. And I'm going to have to take whatever they give me. And she was just really in fear about that. So even just the mental suffering and the financial hardship that's being imposed. So these bills in these states are so important for these reasons. And I would just ask everyone, see what you can do to support the legislations in your states and to get behind it if they're not there, because there's no state that's protecting it. Fortunately, I may not have been clear enough when we spoke, but there's no state that that has laws against it, but they're not protecting. And because of the federal government and because of the pressures of the big blood banks, then there's just hospitals and blood banks that aren't allowing it. You see, you need three things to come together, right? The doctor has to say, yeah, I agree you need a directed donation, or I'm agreeable to that option. That's usually not a hard obstacle to overcome. Most doctors are very reasonable about that. But then you need the hospital to be contracted with a blood bank that says, yeah, we'll allow the directed donation. Now, we work with lots of great hospitals and blood banks around the country for this. So, but there's a few that really try and block it, and they've done a lot of harm. But then you also need the hospital on board. So if either the blood bank or the hospital isn't on board, then, so like that case in Texas, the blood bank was happy to process a direct donation, but that's Baylor St. Luke's, and the St. Luke's hospitals have been very intransigent on this. And so that open heart patient wasn't able to get a directed donation. Fortunately, he got cell saver technology at our suggestion that recycled it. So this is a really, really important win in Idaho. I'll be testifying for South Dakota's legislation tomorrow, but just let everybody know, we are making victories, and people should be excited about what's going on in the movement. And right now, the legislative season is gearing up, and there's so much great work to be done.
Well, Clinton, I'll tell you, if we could, just remind me off air. There is federal litigation that we could consider on this, and we should catch up here and have a chat about that in the next few days. It's something that is available based on Mary's work and the fact that study was misinterpreted. There's some things we can do on that potentially, but we should talk about that off air. I got to hit some other things, but where can people support you? How can they support you? Please support Safe Blood. I'm working with them. I'm proud to work with them. These are good people. They're not a sponsor. So yes, I am working with them, but they're not a sponsor. They're people that I'm proud to work to help elevate their work and to elevate what they're doing, because it's people like Safe Blood that are making a difference. How can they support you, Clinton?
Well, thank you. And we really appreciate your support, Tom. I mean, you've been great to us. And yeah, everybody, you can go to safeblood.com. There's different levels of membership that we have. Certainly, if you're just somebody who's not vaccinated and say, hey, I want to make my blood available, you can do that for free. Certainly, it's the people who subscribe for monthly or annual membership, of course, that really, give us the financial wherewithal to do what we're doing. And so please, go to safeblood.com. You can go to the Substack at safeblood.substack.com. You can also, if you sign up for the Substack as a paying member, then you also get a complimentary or linked Safe Blood membership. So there's two ways to get to us that way. And on that Substack, we do try to keep everybody informed on these developing issues that they're so interrelated. Because if they could deny or take away parental rights for trying to comply with medical advice regarding a CF, then what if your child they're requesting that your child get blood that you are concerned about, like you don't want another baby Alex or baby Radgiver tragedy. We're just really concerned that all of these things are linked. They're all working on the same sorts of lies and misinformation, and together we're all fighting together. So please, go to the website and join us. And Tom, thank you. I'll let you get on to other topics.
We got to get on, but Clinton, thank you as always. Thank you for everything you do. Keep us in the loop. We'll definitely have you back here sometime next few weeks for additional updates. I want to know how this is going, and if I can help you in any of these states with the legislation, please don't hesitate. I'm happy to raise a stink in any way that I can, or to get involved on any level that I have the ability to do so. So thank you very much.
We'll talk further. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Let's get into some other things. So let me show you this. Ben, can you share my screen for a second? I want to show you guys this. So this is what you see on here is some stuff related to Ken Lee and the medical kidnapping. But I want to show you over here on live on X, right? So you got firestorm erupt after DOJ's Epstein. And you look at this and you go down, Bondi, I talk about Epstein, Pizzagate. Everywhere you go, you see Epstein, right? Because that's what people care about. They care about protecting our kids and keeping people safe, except for the White House. The White House, Trump participates in champion coal event. Who the hell cares? We have child rapists. Look at this. There you go. DOJ. You can keep going, right? This is a list of just a short list of some of the people that are doing. Everybody's talking about what's going on with this crooked DOJ and the Epstein stuff. And the White House, being the most tone-deaf people on the planet, are instead talking about a freaking coal event. Nobody cares about a coal event right now. We want to know why you're letting child rapists get away with it. I mean, the Epstein nonsense, you have people who raped children who apparently there's indications in there of torture and ritualistic murder of children. There's all sorts of stuff in there. There's 3 million documents plus that they didn't release illegally, in my opinion. And we see that, I mean, today, and we're going to get into this, it looks like they're redacting things they shouldn't have. This is corruption on a profound level, right? Now, let me show you this. I want to go to now this, there's going to be bad words in this. I'm going to play this video for you. And I want to tie this. This is ICE. This is about ICE. And ICE is doing a lot of great things. And I want to play this for you, and I want to tie it in, right? So this is a guy talking about ICE, because here's the problem. The Democrats are out there trying to act like they care about the Epstein stuff, but they didn't give a damn. Neither do the Republicans. No one, Democrat or Republican, gives a damn about children. It's all political posturing and games. So look at this. Let's listen here.
So there was an incident in the great state of California,
Shocker,
my former home, to where ICE agents pulled up to a farm. The farm was owned by someone with multiple counts of child molestation, who was actually awaiting trial for rape of a fucking young child. They picked up 10 kids, 8 of them were unaccompanied, meaning that at least 8 of the kids were being trafficked by child sex predators, and these liberal fucking protesters were throwing rocks and trying to obstruct federal agents from rescuing children from child sex trafficking.
Okay, we're going to stop there. He goes on, and he's right. So we have the good anti-ICE protesters. They don't care, right? They don't care. They're just, oh, ICE is evil. This is a guy who's awaiting trial for child rape. He's got a bunch of unaccompanied kids there. I wonder what they're there for. Really? We know there are profound levels of child rape and all those sorts of things happening. But instead of going and say, hell, we should come together on kids. Nope. The left does the same thing as the right. Doesn't matter which side you're on. It's all political. No one gives a damn about anything of substance. The Democrats are no better than the Republicans. In fact, I would argue the Democrats are worse, maybe. But it doesn't matter, right? I mean, let me show you how important this is to the left, right? Let me show you this. Here is, watch this. This is Nadler, Democrat Nadler, during the Bondi hearing. Watch this. I forgot this is, hold on, we're going to have to get through the commercials because I love Gateway Pundit, but man, these guys, they got a lot of commercials. I love them, love the Hoff brothers, good people, but the commercials suck. Here we go, watch. No, look at him. He's literally asleep. Look at how much he cares about Epstein and the kids. The Democrats are trying to act like the Republicans don't care, but look at, you got to wake up, sir. You got to wake up. Are you kidding me? I mean, the Democrats don't give a damn. But let me show you this. Let me see. Where is this? Here is Mike Johnson, who also doesn't give a damn about children. Here you go. Let's play him.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The
Listen to
discharge
this.
requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible.
This is regarding the Epstein law, right? It requires them to the maximum extent possible to release everything about child rape and child rape rings. Mike Johnson doesn't like this because Mike Johnson loves child rapists, apparently.
This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest and always has rested with the agency that originated the intelligence.
You mean
Why?
the agency that's been covering up for this? Listen, we know Epstein had ties to the CIA. We know Epstein had ties to all these people. Yeah, you definitely, you want to make sure that the people who are running the Epstein ring or working with the Epstein ring have control over it. We passed this law precisely to prevent that because we know these people are involved with child rape and the child rape ring that was Epstein, and they looked the other way because they were using it for political control. Our government is broken, and Mike Johnson is no better than the left.
So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is
Sources and
incredibly
methods.
dangerous.
Do you mean the sources and methods like Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing people?
To demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies.
No kidding. That's because the intel agencies are corrupt. I mean, we know Epstein was working with CIA. We know it. It's clear as day. And all sorts of foreign intelligence agencies, by the way, which are also being covered up. This is a cover up. And Mike Johnson is out there, methods and materials. That's bullshit. This is Mike Johnson, the sellout, just like the left, just like the protesters who are out there saying, hey, I shouldn't be stopping these child rape. That's bullcrap. If we can't come together on protecting children, we are broken, and it's both parties. We are broken. Our government is broken, and I'm tired of making excuses for the Republicans. They're as bad as the Democrats. No one is prioritizing children, right? So let's get to this. Let's get to this right here. This is an excerpt, and it's a little bit longer, but I want to go through this because Pam Bondi looked like a freaking moron today. It was vacuous. It was inexcusable. It was worse than her Fox News appearances because at least there she's got people who are covering for her. Pam Bondi looked horrific today. And, but she did get to rip Raskin. So, I mean, clearly that's it because they want us to look at this like it's a Democrat-Republican thing. This isn't a Democrat-Republican issue. This is a child rapist issue. Both parties should come together to protect child rape. But you just heard Mike Johnson protecting it. You've heard Pam Bondi protecting it. You saw Nadler falling asleep. Both parties, and they're right. Where were the Democrats during Biden? Where were they? Now, I'm going to tell you, I've been against Epstein for a long time. Before COVID, you didn't hear my name. And during COVID, I was kind of busy fighting that. I can only fight so many things at once. But I have been remarkably consistent about protecting kids. So you can say whatever you want about me. I am principle over party, period. I don't give a damn which party it is. If you're going to sell out for kids, you're a POS. And that's what we have right here. So let me show you what Tom Massey did. Now, Tom Massey, you can argue about whether he's made some political mistakes or not. But I am all in favor of what him and Ro Khanna and anybody, Nancy Mace, but I don't care. If you're trying to put child rapists in jail, I'm good with that thing, right? I don't care about anything else. I care about protecting my children and their future. That's why I do what I do. I'm not selling out like the Republicans or like the Democrats. Let's listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact.
Right.
Or, sorry, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name. And you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there.
Okay, so here we've got it. Pam Bondi sitting there. Here is a case study. They weren't protecting the victims. Les Wexner, we'll get to that in a minute. A lot of the people who rape children, they're all protected. 3 million pages of people protected. Tens of thousands of hours, according to Pam Bondi, of videos where you can see old men raping children, and God knows what else. That's protected. We're not going to release that, but we're going to release the victims' names so that they can get harassed into shutting up. That was the purpose of this, because Pam Bondi is a crook who covered up for Epstein while she was an AG in Florida, and now she's still continuing to do that in her position as AG of the United States.
The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names. Right?
Yeah.
The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking. Co-conspirators, fully redacted.
What? No, if I'm not mistaken, we weren't supposed to be protecting those people. But the DOJ did a wonderful job of making sure that people who were tied. Now, they pointed out, they did talk about people for ancillary crimes, right? And you'll hear Pam Bondi comes out, oh, no, we had Les Wexner's name all over it. Not for sex trafficking, as Thomas Massey's going to make a point. This was intentional to try and cover up the sex trafficking part of this, because that's what they're trying to protect. That's what Pam Bondi wants to cover up. And again, I want to know if Pam Bondi's name is in the Epstein file somewhere.
And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general,
Todd Blanche,
said,
a crook.
oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking.
Why does that matter? Because Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and everybody else have perjured themselves, in my opinion, when they've came out and said to Congress under oath, no, there's no sex trafficking. There's none of this, none of that. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, I believe, have broken the law. It should be investigated, and if it turns out that that's accurate, they should be charged with perjury. They are protecting criminal child sex traffickers. Why? That's a pretty important question, isn't it?
Not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need, that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI.
The survivors whose names they released, they don't mind. That way the survivors can get harassed. But here, this is what the pages look like that have the people who rape children. Nice job, Pam.
And it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction.
Oh,
so
shocker.
We can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you
No.
able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
Okay, so this is then Pam Bondi dodges and lies and does what she always does because she's a liar. She's a crook. We're coming up on the end of the show, so I can't go through all of this, but let me show you this. Here's where Pam Bondi says, oh, wow, 1,700 child predators arrest, 10% increase. Oh, look at that. We've got all these child sex predators. You know who she didn't arrest? Anybody who was part of the Epstein child rape ring. Why? Because she protects the elites. It's not that she won't arrest child sex predators. She doesn't care about that. Her job is to protect a broken system. Her job is to make sure that the elites are not arrested and that there's no problems. That is what Pam Bondi is doing. It's a two-tier justice system, and she's responsible for carrying it out. There is no justice for the children who were raped. There's no justice for the victims. This is Pam Bondi making damn sure she's protecting child rapists over the victims, because she, what she does is she'll go out, oh, we arrested some sex predators. There are nobody's, no names, and I'm glad they're arresting them. They're supposed to arrest them. Good job. But she doesn't arrest anyone of substance. No Democrats for J6, no Democrats in Minnesota. No, I mean, there's the criminal network is not being touched. They'll arrest the nobodies, but this is kind of like arresting a drug dealer, but not trying to shut down the drug cartel. That's great. You can shut down the drug cartel, or you can arrest a drug dealer, but if you don't shut down the drug cartel, they're just going to pay another drug dealer. That's what Pam Bondi's doing, is making sure that she tries to act like she's doing something to keep stupid conservatives that aren't paying attention and who just want to kiss Trump's ass on this. Oh, we're happy. Look at where they're arresting child rapists. But they're not arresting the ringleaders. They're not arresting the people at the top. They're not doing anything with people at the top. It's kind of like Benghazi. Oh, we arrested some Benghazi people. You didn't arrest Hillary Clinton, who was behind the gun running with Barack Obama. Didn't do anything there. But no, she did a great job because she arrested some nobody. This is what she does. This is her modus operandi, to arrest nobodies, to try and distract from the fact that she's not arresting the real criminals behind these things. It is appalling. It is disgusting. It is repulsive. Here, let me show you this. So this one, Shadow of Ezra is great. Shadow of Ezra is doing great on this, by the way. Shout out to Shadow of Ezra. If you're not following him, this guy is posting a lot of truth. But Pam Bondi gets asked about why she hasn't indicted any Epstein clients. Why haven't you indicted any child rapists? Here's her answer. This is insane to me.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear around.
Oh, there it is.
The Dow
There
is
it
over
is.
50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans'
Wait, what about
401ks
child
and
rape?
retirement savings are booming.
What about child rape?
That's what we should be talking about.
You're right.
We
Don't
should be
worry
talking
about child rape.
making Americans safe.
Safe
We should
from child
be
rapists?
talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what
Good
they
question.
just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, shut
no,
up,
I'm not kidding.
silly
Yeah,
woman.
Shut up. I mean, what do you want? Really? Hey, Pam, why aren't you arresting people who ritualistically murdered and raped children? Well, the Dow's up. What? What the hell does that get to do with it? What the hell? And this was a setup. Someone told Pam when she was prepping for this, hey, make sure that, when the Democrats say this, that you go after Raskin for trading stocks. That's exactly what she did. That's exactly what this was. This is corruption. It's obfuscation. We, the people, are not going to allow it because we care about child rape. If you don't care about child rape, you are not MAGA. You cannot make America great again when you allow pedophiles to run our country. That's what's happening. We elected Donald Trump to drain the swamp, and instead he's swimming in it, led by Pam Bondi and Susie Wiles. This administration needs to change direction. They're going to get killed in the midterms, and the problem is that destroys our country. Because, yes, the Democrats are horrible. But are they worse? I don't know. It's hard to say who's worse when both parties are protecting child rapists. Folks, please support us. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. We do need support because we aren't going to get it from anybody else. The Republicans aren't, Democrats aren't, none of the rich pedophiles that are benefiting from this. Pam Bondi's worried about making sure that the rich pedophile stocks are going up instead of putting them in jail. Congratulations, Pam, you're a crook. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw if you want to help.
Natural.